What is going on, everybody? This is Drew here. I want to welcome you all to a brand new episode of Phoenix Down. This is Phoenix Down Intermission, and we're doing something a little different. I know I've hinted at it and said on the show previously. We're actually not doing video games this week. Matt was not able to record this week, so we are postponing Lost Odyssey until next week. But I got with me Anthony.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about weird, creepy stuff from the internet. Or true things that are unsolved. We are Robert Stack. And yeah.
And I guess this is your warning if that's not your jam. Like, there's some grim, dark subjects. Nothing more than, I guess, murder or potential murder. But,
yeah.
You know, just so people aren't, like, upset if they've accidentally stumbled into this, this is not going to be necessarily light. I think it should be noted that the reason why we're talking about this, though, is that it's not so much the, what's the term? The gore factor, or that, I guess.
Right.
Like, the interest we have is purely because it's unsolved and it's a mystery.
Right. I mean, that's the biggest thing is, like, I was a huge fan of Unsolved Mysteries. I still am. My wife and I actually went back. So Amazon, of all places, has every single episode of Unsolved Mysteries on there. And they have actually, the studio who bought the rights to it has actually done their homework. And if you go back and watch it, so like an episode from like 1989, there's updates to it, if there were updates to it, from up to 2019.
I believe the owners is Film Rise.
You're right. Film Rise.
So if you, I don't know if it's in the States because of rights issues and stuff, but those are all on YouTube as well.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Now, I don't know if they have the updates attached, but you can definitely go and watch Unsolved Mysteries, the original series, on YouTube right now.
Yeah. But I found that highly fascinating. My wife and I sat down back in 2019 and started rewatching all these old episodes, and we noticed that they were like update, and it's not like narrated, it's just kind of like quick little blurbs at the bottom of the screen saying, oh, in 2019 this man was released, or they found the remains, or this guy admitted to it. And I'm just like, oh wow, this is like recent. And I was like, this is well done. I was so happy, and we kept watching. I was kind of addicted to it for a while there. But yeah, I've always loved Unsolved Mysteries. The theme song used to scare the crap out of me as a kid. I don't know why.
I mean, because you know what's following.
Yeah. Like I was, every time I heard the, I was like, oh, I believe in the room. It's scary. I'm scared now when I was a kid. But, yeah. So I've always been obsessed with it. And it seems like, the internet, particularly YouTube, has really rejuvenated that. There are multiple channels that I follow that do some fantastic investigative reporting on this kind of stuff. I'm really big into the internet mysteries, like which usually turn out to be an ARG, which is lame.
Can I? So this is a little mini rant, and I know people love my rants. I don't have an issue with ARGs. The problem is that I feel that most people that build them don't understand what makes them fun. You know, I actually questioned putting horse ebooks and pronunciation manual or guide. I can't recall which one. There's two. Which had these weird build-ups to nothing.
Yeah.
There was something that happened with them, but it killed any momentum they had. And ruined two interesting accounts because I believe they were bought by somebody who then sort of started the ARG. And if you go back and look at the history of ARGs, which I mean, there are some that are unsolved, I'm sure.
Sure.
You have things like, believe it was I Love Bees, which
Yeah.
was the Halo 3
Yeah.
or Halo 2.
That was a big one.
So, but there was a payoff. It was seeing something that the world had not seen before anyone else sees it, right? And so,
So I'll go as far as to say, and it's played out now, I think they still handle it, Marble Hornets, when that first released,
right.
I had never heard of the Slender Man, and I was like, what the hell is this?
But Marble Hornets, I think, does enough where they have established their own lore.
Yeah.
So, as much as there's an ARG, it is clearly built for the fans of Marble Hornets. So there's a payoff still, if that makes sense. Like, there has to be some payoff. There's a game released not too long ago called No Players Online.
Yes.
And it has no built-in fan base, and it's a big ARG, and then it ends. And I guess that's a payoff. But, like, Marble Hornets doesn't start up with the idea of being an ARG necessarily.
Right.
There's elements potentially, but it's also willing to be just a internet series.
Yeah.
And a very well done, creepy internet series. And so when you look at the best ARGs, you have the Frog Fractions 2, which was crazy.
Yep.
There's the Binding of Isaac one. And there's a couple others with, like, movies that I can't recall because they aren't necessarily in my interest range, but there's some payoff that is outside of just playing the game, and I feel like a lot of people don't understand that. The only reason why an ARG is good is that there's some payoff. Either you learn more of the story that you are already invested in, or there is, like, a physical thing or a digital thing that you get.
Yeah. That kind of plays off to Hotiful Boyfriend, because I reviewed that game. It works because, I mean, nowadays everybody knows what it's actually about. There is an underlying thing in Hotiful Boyfriend that they never allude to in any of the trailers when this game was coming out, and they never actually allude to until probably your second playthrough of that game, where you're just like, what the hell is actually happening in this game? It's not a pigeon dating simulator. There is way more to it than that. It is fucking weird. And I found it fascinating. Because I was like, I had no idea what this was. I thought it was just a joke game where you're dating pigeons. No. There is way more to it than that. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody who actually has never played that game and has any interest in it. So I'm not going to say any more. But
it's the same as the Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... I'll talk about, seeing as how we're talking about video games in this podcast where we said we weren't really talking about video games. Are you familiar with Yume Nikki? Wow. Couldn't get that out of my mouth.
Yume Nikki?
Yeah. Okay, so it's an RPG Maker game.
Right.
Without RPG elements. And it is, I think, inspired somewhat by the game Off, which was a French RPG Maker game that sort of started the revolution of RPG, but they may have come out around the same time. They're both made on the same version of RPG Maker. And the mystery is not so much the game, although a lot of it is vague. So any story elements that you pull out of it is based on interpretation of the elements presented. It's very strange. It's very experimental. But no one really knows who made it. It's just by a person named Kikiyama.
Okay.
And Kikiyama isn't really on the internet. Now, there is a remake published by Playism called Yume Nikki Dream Diary, and it plays more like Limbo rather than this weird experimental game.
Uh-huh.
They say that they had talked to Kikiyama, which I assume has to be true to some extent, because they don't think copyright would have gone over well, but it's still odd, and it inspired a ton of fan games, and this guy just, I say guy, this person never really cashed in.
Yeah. Didn't care to, I guess.
I guess, if you look up the amount of Yume Nikki fan games, it's insane.
I have never heard of this.
You should look into it. If nothing else, look into the wiki of the things that can happen in that game. It's this subtle sense of horror and dread rather than... I can't even say there's not jump scares. There's jump scares, but it's this... It's so bizarre. There's really nothing like it. Yeah. And it's fascinating that, and I realize there's a bunch of games out there that we really don't know who made them, but they're usually abandoned. They don't reach some cult status.
Right.
And here's this game that reached cult status just because of how different it is. And yeah, just never, we don't know what they look like. We don't hear from them ever that we know of. I'm sure they're on the internet, but maybe they're not. Like, it was just put on 2chan and it became popular, and then an unofficial English translation happened, and it's just a very odd game.
So if we're going to go ahead and knock out the ARGs and the video games, I'm going to go ahead and throw out the one I found probably the most fascinating for a while there. Kanye Quest.
Oh, I thought I have another one, so that's okay.
Okay, so Kanye Quest 3030 is I'm assuming it's made in RPG Maker. It may not be. But yeah, Kanye Quest started out kind of like a joke video game, almost like Charles Barkley's Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, where you played as Kanye West in a little RPG, fighting other rappers, and everybody kind of thought it was like a haha funny game with probably an homage to hip hop. But somebody found a secret room in this game that had a QR code, which then led to a weird-ass website, and it was actually ran by a cult, and they had like a phone number that you could call and leave like a voice message, and apparently some of those people's voice messages ended up in Kanye Quest. It was friggin' weird. But, of course, it did turn out to be a ARG, so...
Or assumed to be, yeah.
Yeah. They never actually confirmed or denied. They just kind of abandoned it.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
It's how I feel about the... You see, it's a video game that you can't play called Pets Cop.
Oh, I know that one, yeah.
Fascinating series. We don't know what the point is. There's not really any lore to take away from the videos. You have to kind of just build it together. And I'm going to be honest, most of it seems held together with string. It's not very solid interpretations. But, like, that was a lot of work to not lead to anything.
Yeah, they modeled like almost a full video game and made videos of it.
And it looks like an old PS1 game.
Yeah.
Like, down to the way it's artifact, like it looks like it's being played on a CRT.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. And when it's in the sort of everything is happy before it gets weird and creepy, it looks just like you'd have like one of those weird experimental PS1 games.
Yeah.
And I do not. It's ended now, or for the time being, I guess, or permanently. And I'm not sure what happened.
That's like, God, I can't ever think of the name of it. I can't really find anything on it anymore. I tried looking it up before. Apparently it was a cursed video game. I think this is more of a creepypasta that people made videos of. A cursed video game, a Russian video game where you can choose to play as a girl or play as a demon.
Okay.
And if you played as the demon, the character was invisible and the game was much harder. But it was a game that you could only beat in one sitting, and if you died any time during the game would delete itself.
Oh, interesting. I mean, there's definitely games that will delete themselves
Yeah.
if you fail one time, but interesting.
But I always found that one interesting too. But that's just a creepypasta, like Ben drowns.
Yeah, and there's that Harvest Moon-like game that the farming game where you kill your wife and you bury her.
You keep her in the basement, and then the cops show up, and you have to constantly move her body.
And everybody's pretty sure it's a fake post on indie gaming.
Yeah.
Reddit, but it's still like it's a lot of detail for something that doesn't exist.
And there's also multiple people who have brought it up, saying, I played this game.
I mean, it's probably the same person if it's not real, but
it could be,
yeah. Okay, so I'll get into one of the heavier ones. I'm not going to play. I wouldn't say play the 911 call, but are you familiar with the Ruth 911 call, where you hear the person breaking in?
Yeah.
That no one can confirm that's real.
Yeah.
So it's either done for training, or it's a hoax.
This recording supposedly over 10 to 15 years old at this point?
The earliest mention of it was on a forum by a former 911 operator in 2002.
Okay, so yeah. I get the feeling this is probably used for training purposes.
I assume so, but it's so well done.
Yes.
It's uncomfortable. But there's no articles on a death in this,
city.
Yeah. All this stuff, it's one of those weird ones where it's like, I cannot say it is more likely to be fake than not. Yeah,
They played it off as if because the 911 operator never actually asked the location, that they never actually sent a police officer to investigate, so they don't actually know what happened or where it happened.
Yeah, it's never revealed in the phone call where it happened, so it makes it harder to find out. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a training video.
But what's weird at this point is that I think, one, I don't know how it leaks. Whether it's real or not, I don't know how that leaks. It's illegal to release the 911 phone call of someone dying, apparently.
Okay.
But if it's just for training purposes, who puts that out there? That's very odd. And at this point, there are, unfortunately, real phone calls of 911 operators, not helping the person.
Yeah.
There's the lady that drowned in her car, and the 911 operator was useless. Now, technically, she died, but she's not dying on the phone, so it's, I guess, okay. It's kind of fucked up, but regardless, this phone call is like it makes the hairs on my arm stand on end just talking about it because it's one of those things that sticks with you. I don't suggest people go listen to it. It's just one of those things where it's like if this is acted, if this is not real, Academy Award winning performance.
Yeah, no,
because that scream is wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrifying. So you want me to?
We're talking about. I mean, we're in the heavy stuff now. You pick and choose. Okay. Actually, here before we go on, I got one because I have a bunch of them. There's a 1990 documentary called Paris is Burning. It is about gay culture. The reason why I bring that up is there's now I apologize in advance. I'm usually better at this. I'm going to refer to Dorian Corey as a woman because that's what they've done on Wikipedia. However, she is listed as a drag performer, so I do not know how she identifies, or she identified, because she is now deceased. She died in 1993, so 3 years after the documentary, and she died of AIDS-related complications. However, they're apparently talking to her in her apartment in the movie. And when she died, the preserved body of Robert Worley, sometimes known as Robert Wells, was found amongst Corey's belongings. He appeared to have died from a gunshot wound to the head, and had determined the body to have been dead for approximately 15 years. The body was just kept in the closet. They don't know why. It just... And you see the closet, apparently, in Paris is Burning. I only know about this from the death aspect. I've never seen Paris is Burning. I've heard it's an amazing documentary. It just also sounds very sad, because it's a bunch of people who were kicked out of their houses. But yeah, this woman kept a dead body in her closet for 15 years.
I have never heard that before.
Oh, it is fucked up.
No kidding. That's like some Norman Bates shit right there.
And the only reason why they found it is because she died. And like it is a sentence and a small little paragraph on the Wikipedia page. I cannot find much more information than that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It says here, the third episode of the show Pose in season 2 has a transgender house mother who apparently kills a man. Or has a man die, from an overdose in a private dungeon. Very clearly based on Dorian Corey's situation. So, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Yep.
Okay. I've never heard that one before. I gotta look that up.
Man, it is one of those things that just, living with a dead body. That fucking bothers me on some level. Ugh.
Yeah. And so it was preserved?
I mean, it mummifies eventually.
I guess.
You'd have to be able to tell how old it is, you know? Like, they could tell that he was dead for 15 years. That's a long time to keep a body.
Yeah. A very long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love the speechless.
I have never heard that one before, so yeah. Well, if we're getting into the heavy stuff, let's, oh boy. Let's talk about Joshua Maddox. So Joshua Maddox was a 18-year-old boy who went missing in 2008. And, well, They found him years and years later. So he went missing in 2008, was found in 2015, and what was weird was that he was only, 3 blocks away from his house? In an abandoned house. But he wasn't just in an abandoned house, he was in the chimney of an abandoned house. And what was so strange about the whole incident was that he was actually head first in the chimney.
So, just so people understand, his head was downwards.
Yes. So it was almost as if he dove into the chimney itself. And what people don't realize is, and what I didn't realize is that chimneys aren't just a straight shot down.
No, they angle. So they actually get, how do I put it? They are tapered in a way, like the interior is tapered so that it is smaller at the bottom and wider at the top.
Yes. The other strange thing is that a few of his belongings were found inside the house itself. But one of the things that was very strange was his clothes. He had somehow taken off his pants. His pants were actually down around his ankles. And this is including his underwear. And they can't figure out why he would have taken his pants off. Other than the fact that he was maybe trying to make himself smaller so he could fit either in or out of it. At the same time, nobody in their right mind would go headfirst into a chimney. So, that leads to the question, what happened to this kid? And then I point to a Reddit post from years ago talking about this guy saying that he knew Josh Maddox and that he went to school with him. And he was also friends with this kid who is weird. And at one point, this weird kid claimed that he was going to go meet up with Josh. And they never saw Josh again. A week later, the weird kid moved away. And is now somewhere in, I think, Utah or Arizona now. I can't remember where exactly. But everything that this OP says on Reddit coincides perfectly with everything that's been said or known about the Joshua Maddox case. It is so weird and disturbing that for, 4 years?
4? No. It was... Hold on. It was 7.
7 years, sorry.
So
I can't do my
2008.
math.
2008 is when he disappeared. 2015 was when he was found.
Yeah. That is a crazy case. And
however, I have to argue that it makes sense to me at this point. Now, I'm not saying that didn't happen, but the Reddit person was insinuating. However, I, not too long ago, sent you the case of Harley Billy.
yes.
And this is far more recent. Unfortunately, this child also passed. 14, I believe it was last year that he was found dead in the chimney of a vacant house right across the street. And he climbed into the chimney. This is the assumed case. This home was vacant as well. However, obviously, vacant doesn't mean doors are open. You can just open in to get into I opened the door to get in. So he climbed up on scaffolding. So it was under renovation, which makes this a lot more likely in this particular case, not so much in the Joshua Maddox case. And he was able to get into the chimney and then hits the floor of the chimney, which is basically a stopping point. And then he can't climb back to the roof. Now, obviously, in this particular case, he is upright. However, he pushed his clothes out. And it's just, that's how they ended up figuring out he was in the chimney. Now, I'm not saying that Joshua Maddox wasn't murdered because this child died in a very similar fashion. But what I am saying is that by itself, the Maddox case is odd. When you have a similar case that is clearly not related at all, other than the manner in which the person died, you start to see like, oh, this is how it might have happened in general, right? You pushed your clothes out to get more breathing space. Maybe I can squeeze through.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it's easy to do when you're inside a chimney, but it is possible to take your own clothes off, clearly. It's odd, and again, I'm not saying Maddox wasn't murdered. It's far more odd than the Harley Dilley case, but that established some doubt in me that he was murdered.
So the Harley Dilley case is a little bit more disturbing because he actually had a internet footprint.
Yes.
So he was a YouTuber. Not very popular YouTuber, but he did do a lot of YouTubing. I believe his videos are still up. I'm not sure.
I think he was Roblox creator.
Yeah, he did a lot of Roblox. He did a lot of like Madden, I think, or maybe some kind of sports game. But he also did a few vlogs, and he had a very rocky home life. There's a couple of actually disturbing videos that he posts of like, hey, my mom's mad at me and she locked me out of the house. And he's sitting out in his yard filming himself in the cold. And he's like, I don't know, something bad's going to happen. I think he actually says that.
Yeah. It's a very sad, I mean, both cases are very sad, but it's just when in this age where people have these digital footprints, it's there's a lot more to unfortunately be learned. If you look up disappeared people or missing people, disappeared implies that they were forced to disappear.
Yeah.
But if you look up missing people, that Wikipedia actually separates from 1970 to now, and then pre-1970. And towards the bottom of the list, which is more recent, you start to see the footprints people leave behind. And we as people always put a little bit more focus onto that stuff and are like, well, look at the final posts. They were this and that. And it's like, this was implying this, and everybody thinks of those last words as having more meaning behind them. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, why did he say that?
Yeah.
You know, like, it always has that, but with as much digital footprint as you have. But the Harley Dilley one's way more heavy because he was far more active.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, the both those cases are insane. The strange thing that I remember seeing about the Maddox case was the fact that they found multiple items of his inside the house, and it just feels a little fishy, as if he had been in that house before and then somehow ended up in the chimney.
Yeah, I mean, look, it still bothers. Again, another one that makes the hairs stand on end. So, you know.
Yeah. All right, so what about you? What you got next?
Oh, man. So, another one of those, because we just talked about two cases that kind of, mesh in a way. There is a movie, Changeling, directed by Clint Eastwood.
With Angelina Jolie, right?
Yes. Are you familiar with what that's about?
Yes.
Okay. So, a boy named Walter Collins disappeared on his way to the cinema in 1928. It's obviously old. His mother, Christine, was worried, and the police 5 months later bring another boy claiming to be Walter back to her, and she goes, "That's not my son."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Maybe you should say it's your son." And they pressured her to resolve the case. They were like, "No, this is your son." And she was like, "No, I have dental records. This is not my son." And to give her all the credit in the world, she was a really good detective in proving that fact. And yeah, it was this boy who had run away, and he admitted to it eventually, that he was that he was not Walter Collins, and then somebody was put on trial for the murder of Walter Collins later on. He abducted and killed multiple boys. However, the reason why I bring this up, because this is very old, there's a French serial imposter named Frédéric Bourdin, and he has pretended to be... He's 46, and at the time of all these, he is not a child. He is an adult. Here's one of them. Nicholas Barclay, age 13 at the time he went missing, was last seen playing basketball with his friends in his hometown of San Antonio, Texas, on June 13th, 1994. Bourdin took Barclay's identity and was flown to the United States in 1997. Although Bourdin had brown eyes and a French accent, he convinced the family he was their blue-eyed son, saying he had escaped from a child prostitution ring and the ring had altered his eye color. He lived with the family for 5 months.
Wow.
And then a private investigator was like, I don't think that's your son. And he's like, look at the ears. I'm pretty sure the family kind of held on, like, no. And they're like, okay, fingerprints and DNA. Like, this private investigator's like, you are being lied to by this creep that is living in your house. And then, oh god, this is his MO. He just pretends to be orphans and missing children, and he's a creep. But it's like, you wonder how that could happen, and it still is happening. This weird French guy who's balding, or has thinning hair at least, he did it in the 90s.
Isn't there a guy that's currently in a Canadian prison who they don't know who he actually is?
Yeah, there's that guy too. He's not pretending to be children, of course.
But he refuses to tell them who he actually is, and they actually don't know who he is. And he's been in prison for like 7 years or something like that.
I think they have some idea of who he is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's a con artist basically.
Yeah. Speaking of like people that show up and under mysterious circumstances, I have to look this up because it just came up to my head. The man from... Oh, God. Is this... Do you know the man from Torred?
Maybe.
I'm just gonna say the story. I apologize. I'm trying not to read as much because I do know a lot of these, but I will miss facts in this one. In July, and it says on July 1954. That is not how you write a date or a sentence that has no specific date. Anyways, July 1954, man arrives in the Tokyo airport. He's Caucasian appearance, but the officials are suspicious. On checking his passport, they see that he hails from a country called Torred. There is no country called Torred, but the passport looks genuine. So they're like, where are you from? And he's like, Torred. They're like, point to it on a map. He points apparently to the Principality of Andorra, but becomes confused and angry because he's never heard of Andorra. He says it's existed more than 1,000 years, so why is it not there? Customs found him in possession of money from several different European currencies. His passport has been stamped by many airports around the globe, including previous visits to Tokyo. Baffled, they took him to a hotel and placed him in a room with 2 guards outside until they got to the bottom of the mystery. The company he claimed to work for had no knowledge of him, although he had copious amounts of documentation to prove his point. The hotel claimed he had a reservation for... the hotel he claimed to have a reservation for never heard of him. The company he was supposed to meet in Tokyo was like, I don't know them. And then when they opened up his room, he was gone. And he was a couple floors up. There was no balcony. They don't know. Here's the thing. I cannot find any documentation of this. And so this is very similar to the Markovian parallax denigrate, which is the old forum spam that a lot of people think is some coded message. Clearly our source has been lost at some point, which has allowed people to run rampant saying this is clearly the truth.
It evolved.
However,
yeah.
Yes. However, the Markovian parallax denigrate, I can't recall. You can actually find out facts still because just enough info has been saved from the old boards that you can pull out that, it was a bunch of Christian boards that were being spammed by one bot, basically. An early version of. I have looked for this story because it's clearly interesting, and I cannot find the source. So my assumption is that somebody wrote a very good idea down, and it sounded real enough that it was shared by someone who didn't understand it was fiction, or the person that wrote it originally posed it as truth.
Right.
And there is just nothing now. And we have a bunch of people who keep sharing it around like it's truth. And this is actually an issue I have with a lot of the creepy sort of channels on YouTube.
Yeah.
The reason why I say go watch Nexpo over another person with a very similar name and other channels is that Nexpo will show you his work. Somebody like Barely Sociable shows you his work.
Yeah.
They get you to the point where they are writing an essay, and an essay needs sources. This has no source. This is just horseshit. And it leads me into, perfectly actually, it leads me into the do people swallow 8 spiders a year? You might be thinking...
Now we're going into urban legends.
But it's, hold on. It is not an urban legend. It is a internet legend.
Okay.
And the reason why is because if you go to Snopes right now, they'll tell you it's false. And they give you current like scientific American things. But this is verbatim. So how did this claim arise? In a 1993 PC Professional article, columnist Lisa Holst wrote about the ubiquitous lists of facts that were circulating via email and how readily they were accepted as truthful by gullible recipients. To demonstrate her point, Holst offered her own made-up list of equally ridiculous facts, among which was the statistic cited above about the average person swallowing 8 spiders per year, which she took from a collection of common misbeliefs printed in a 1954 book on insect folklore. In a delicious irony, Holt's propagation of this false fact has spurred it into becoming one of the most widely circulated bits of misinformation to be found on the internet. Do you want me to get into the fucking weirdness of that paragraph?
Go for it.
PC Professional. I cannot find that magazine. I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
Oh man.
Lisa Holst. I don't know who she is. I mean, is there a Lisa Holst out there? Probably. You can find them. But nobody can find this particular issue of PC Professional. No one can find Lisa Holst.
Can anybody find that book about insect folklore?
So, is this Snopes article filled with its own lies to see if it can propagate?
To it? Yeah.
Because it's not the first time they've done that.
Damn.
There is a Snopes article about Mr. Ed. You know the horse?
Yes, the horse.
They lied and said he was a zebra, but the stripes couldn't be picked up on camera.
Okay.
That was a thing that they were trying to spread at one point, and it was just on there for years.
It wasn't like an April Fool's joke or something?
No, it never said it was.
I mean, aren't zebras normally smaller than a horse?
I believe so.
Yeah. Mr. Ed was a pretty damn big horse.
Now if you go, it says Lost Legend. But for a good time, it was listed as a fact.
Man, you turned into Jesse Ventura over here.
But it's just one of those things where it's like there have been people that have gone and looked for this proof,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, sure.
And no one can find it.
That's the whole point of Snopes, right?
Right. So here's this. So there's PC Pro, but like it not from the date that they say. So the year founded 1994. And it's just like, is this an English magazine? Like, they don't specify where it's from either. And I'm pretty sure there was multiple PC Pro magazines, right?
Sure.
Like, but the way they write it, PC Professional, like, they can't find, it ends up being this, like, oh, okay. And I remember talking to a friend, and he's like, dude, they can't, like, he's like, I've looked, I can't find it. So I looked, and now there's people online that are like, I can't fucking prove that this woman wrote this magazine article. Maybe that's changed since, but absolutely what the fuck, man.
It just keeps going deeper.
Oh, fuck. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Do you want me to keep going?
Yep, sure. Keep going.
Okay.
What else you got?
John Titor? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The guy that he came up 2001, said he traveled through time. You're not familiar with this? I think you'd be a coast-to-coast sort of guy.
Nah, not that I know of, no.
Okay. Yeah, so... Yeah, he said he traveled through time. He made some predictions.
Yeah, I did the radio stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's fake, but there's some there's some fascinating stuff behind what he was saying. Um, I mean, it's. I'm pretty sure at some point he bailed out and was like, "Well, my being here has changed time," but yeah,
I can't predict it anymore.
yeah. Teeter claimed that the Everett Wheeler model of quantum physics, or the many worlds interpretation, was correct. The new time stream formed because of his time travel. All right, well, when his predictions don't work, well, it's because I changed everything.
So he's the cause of the Mandela effect.
Are we?
Speaking
Don't
of
make
which,
me go.
I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going into the my Mandela effect little story.
All right.
So there is a thing that was circulating the internet a few years ago, titled the 2006 volleyball incident. And if you try to find anything on this, it's almost impossible. But there are a few forums and posts about it. And it basically speculates the Mandela effect, as in 2006, at a high school in the Midwest, there was either a school shooting or a bomb went off during a volleyball tournament. There are multiple people on the internet and in the world who firmly believe and remember this happening. Either it happened at my school, or it happened in the school neighboring ours, or something like that. But it's never the same school. It's never the same state sometimes. And it's never the same situation. The only thing that's the constant is it took place in 2006, and it happened during some type of sporting event, typically a volleyball tournament. Now,
can I just say, I feel like it speaks more to the fact of how many school shootings happen.
You know what? I think that's more the problem here. But there is something that happened, and this is real. In 2006, on September 27th, there was a high school in Colorado where they had a hostage situation, and one person died. No, actually, excuse me, two people died. The perpetrator and a hostage died. And it happened at a school. And so maybe people are remembering that. But it is one of those things where I read it one time on like a picture of an iceberg. And it's like, each level there's something crazier and crazier. And I saw one called the 2006 volleyball incident. And I was like, I have to know what the hell this is. And I Google searched it. And only like 2 or 3 things popped up talking about it. And I was like, that's weird. And I just kind of kept going deeper and deeper. And I was like, so something actually did happen? And this isn't just bullshit? But the Mandela effect is weird.
Yeah, so like I was like, there's a couple that I'm like, most of them are pretty bland, but it's like there's usually some sense of I can understand how we collectively fuck that up.
Yeah.
The one of them listed here is the Hello Clarice. Right, from Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
That's never actually said in Silence of the Lambs. Now, I'm not saying everybody has seen this movie.
The cable guy.
The cable guy.
Yep. That's where I know it from.
Because that is what Jim Carrey says when he turns to Matthew Broderick.
Yes.
He goes, "Hello, Clarice. It's good to see you again." But that's not what he says in the movie. But it all takes is one person seeing that, misremembering. It's similar to the Star Wars. All someone has to do is fuck it up and go, "Luke, I am your father." That's not the line.
No.
But in the context, you are not wrong. You are incorrect with what you were quoting, but you had the gist of it.
Yeah.
What Hannibal Lecter says is good morning. But it's like he does greet Clarice with a positive response.
Yeah.
And in Star Wars, it is, no, I am your father. Which is a far more impactful line, thank God. But,
because Luke say, you killed my father? And he's like, no, I am your father.
Yeah. So, it's just, yeah.
There is one thing that is very popular with the Mandela effect that I am still blown away from.
Berenstain?
It is Berenstain Bears. I'm sorry. Somebody has reprinted those.
There's a guy. Okay. I have wanted to share it with you, but I felt like you'd go, what the absolute fuck? I'm bringing in 9/11. I'm sorry. There's a guy his name is Dmitry Kalasov.
Oh, okay.
He is a 9/11 conspiracy theorist. I don't agree with anything he said, but he is certain that they've reprinted a bunch of dictionaries to change the meaning of ground zero. And nothing makes me happier than him not understanding the difference between the Dictionary of English Usage and a standard dictionary. Because in the Dictionary of English Usage, they sort how they got the different meanings.
Right.
And the dates. So they're telling you, like, hey, in this article from this newspaper, from this date specifically, this person used the term ground zero as blank, not referring to a nuclear explosion. So he thinks that they went around to all the libraries and bought up took all the dictionaries, reprinted them, and replaced them. They couldn't cover up a break-in to a fucking hotel. Do you think they're gonna get away?
Wow.
The amount of work! It's like, so you think they printed the books them fucking selves? They had to go to a publisher and be like, reprint these. Do you not think people would have questions?
Yeah, also don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Man. But we're reprinting 4 million books. Yeah, just do it. Just do it.
Everybody needs to look up the conspiracy chart, which is a pyramid that goes from grounded in reality. It's an inverse pyramid that goes from grounded in reality to detached from reality. And there's some unfortunate, like, very realistic things in there. But, so on the speculation line, you have things like Roswell, UFOs, Marilyn Monroe, the JFK assassination, Epstein didn't kill himself, Free Britney, which I don't think is really fair to be on the speculation line, and the Denver International Airport, which is its own crazy shit that I just don't have enough time to get into, but, like, you should look up the old mural that was on that. Has some weird... Oh, man.
What?
You don't... Oh, no, we're going into it.
There's something at the Denver National Airport?
There was. Dude, the murals in that place... Like, literally, if you look it up, the first article from The Guardian says, remodeling the lizard people's lair.
Oh, God.
Dude, it is some of the weirdest... Like, these murals are so not in the right place. And it's like, I don't...
When were these murals supposed to be made?
You're asking me a question I don't have the answer to.
Okay.
Oh, 1995.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, they were thinking about lizard people long, long before that.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah,
okay, yeah. This is just somebody, like, taking a piss.
Dude, if you look up everybody should look up the murals just to look at some kitsch art. They are bad paintings, straight
Oh,
up.
great.
But like one of them's looks like a communist, and I say communist soldier just because of the uniform he's wearing. We're holding a scimitar and what appears to be some sort of assault rifle with a bayonet on the end of it over some children sleeping and a woman crying with a baby in her arms in destroyed buildings. Why is this in an airport? The soldier has a gas mask on. It looks like burning buildings in one of the pictures. There's a huge conspiracy that there was things underneath the airport, which I think some of it may be true, but I think all airports are supposed to have like an underground section for like terrorist attacks or something. Yeah, dude,
I have never heard of this, and I am very fascinated right now.
The reason why it's questionable is because it's so weird. Like, none of it makes sense. And I get that they hired a local artist, but a lot of people have questions about that. And I don't know. It's just... It really took off when people started talking about it on the internet. Now, even I don't know everything about it. Like, I've probably read it a bunch of times and just dropped off, like, that information in the trash because it's not real. But, yeah.
So, there's something I have to bring up this local here. It's not necessarily a mystery. Everybody's pretty sure who commissioned this. We know who made it, but they don't know exactly who actually commissioned the people to make it. There's this thing called the Georgia Guidestones. It's about an hour away from my house. And they consider it the American Stonehenge. It is both a compass, it is always shows the North Star, and it is also it's like a sundial. And it has written in like 9 different languages these commandments.
Yeah, I've not seen this text before, but the first one saying maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's weird.
Unite humanity with a living new language. What the fuck, man? Wow, okay, yep. How is this not talked about more? What the shit?
I don't know. But
and then people were...
I legit, live an hour away from it.
And people were talking about that weird little metal monolith thing that showed up. Which, by the way, don't fall for that stuff. People were like, oh, look, there's that metal monolith last year, right?
Yeah.
What was that, Utah or California?
I can't remember. Didn't multiple show up?
But that's just it. So the multiple showed up, but it's like, well, this wasn't anything complex. The next person just copied it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can some people just do shit for fun.
Yeah.
Usually they don't have commandments attached to it. This person clearly didn't do it for fun. But it's like, this is creepy. Those metal monoliths, they were not interesting in the slightest, straight up.
Yeah. And these Guidestones have been here since the 70s. Now
Be
people...
not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature.
Yeah.
All right. I
have been to these. They're huge. They're like 20 feet tall.
I see people standing next to them.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man?
And in the middle, if you stand in the middle, there is a section hole that always points to the North Star. Like, this thing has been deliberately made in this spot. And as far as I know, nobody knows who is actually commissioned to make this. Now, a concrete company that's local to the area was commissioned to make this, but nobody actually knows who told them to do it.
Right. So you know who made it, but then they're like, fucking, we don't know.
Yeah. Somebody just paid us money to do this. Who? I don't know. He's anonymous.
Dude, yeah, like, do you know everybody that comes through your fucking Target? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So that's kind of our local weird thing. I've been to them before. They're huge. It's weird. It's one of those things where you pull up to it, you read it, you look at it, maybe take a picture, and then you leave.
Huh.
But it is just a strange thing. It's just out in the middle of nowhere. It's out in the field. Like you would not even know it's there unless somebody told you. That's the weird thing.
Huh. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything, like, ominous like that. Yeah. That's some fucking weird shit, man. Speaking of weird shit, this is just one of my favorite stories. It's old, so I apologize. Do you know the story of Dolly Gray?
Dolly Gray.
Dolly, I have to just read this verbatim because it's just so fucking weird. The Dolly Gray imposter was an unknown American football player who played under the alias of Jack Dolly Gray, an end from Princeton University in 1922. He was rumored to be an All-American honoree in 1922. However, the only known player named Gray to be awarded consensus All-American honors at Princeton in 1922 was Howdy Gray, who was also an end. Under the alias of Gray, the imposter played in the NFL in 1923 for the St. Louis All-Stars and the Green Bay Packers. In 1923, the imposter approached Ollie, I'm not pronouncing that last name, the owner and player coach of the NFL's St. Louis All-Stars. Ollie signed him to the All-Stars, where the imposter played in 3 games. After witnessing the poor quality of play in what he thought was Dolly Gray, an All-American football star at Princeton, Ollie discovered that he was lied to and the man claiming to be Dolly Gray was actually an imposter. Ollie decided to pull the deception that had been pulled on him on another team. After a 6-0 loss to the Cleveland Indians, Ollie released the imposter to Curly Lambeau and the Green Bay Packers in exchange for cash he desperately needed to keep his team operating. From Lambeau's perspective, it appeared that he had gained the best player on the All-Stars roster. 2 weeks later, the Packers played the All-Stars at Sportsman Park. The game ended in a 3-0 Packers victory. After the game, Curly cornered the St. Louis owner and questioned about Dolly Gray. According to Lambeau, Gray played in just 1 game with the Packers and had played poorly. Then, after boarding the train for the team's game in St. Louis, he mysteriously disappeared.
What?
How? Yes, right? So here's this guy who just lied and said he was a football player, and no one knows who he was.
But I'm assuming they didn't pay great money for NFL players back then, so what was his point in doing this?
I don't know, man.
Other than to get the crap beat out of him by professional football players.
I don't know what... So is that what an end does? Just get beaten up?
I mean, if he's a tight end...
It just says end. I don't know what the fuck that means, man.
I'm assuming a tight end, so he's a guy who will block for the quarterback.
Oh, yeah, okay, yep. At the end of the scrimmage. God, never mind. I understand now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he just got beaten up. I don't know, man. But the fact that he got on the train and then disappeared, how the fuck do you disappear from a train?
Jump off.
Short of jumping off, which I'm assuming people would see you do if you're on a train full of people.
Yeah. Hey, we just lost our tight end.
Did Dolly just jump off the train?
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a weird story of, like, here's a guy, he goes up, he approaches a coach, and is like, hey man, I'm really good at football. And the coach is like, what? Okay, I'll take you on. And then he plays the game, and he goes, all right, maybe it was just a bad day. Then he plays 2 more or whatever. And you're like, okay, this This is clearly the bullshit.
What's the big idea?
Like, what a weird story that obviously can't happen today.
No, no.
But I mean, there was that kid that lied himself into being a doctor and
Holy,
opened up his own practice.
that kid, he's done it multiple times. He's done it like 4 times. That kid is awesome. He's horrible, but is awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, just, man, another one of the internet age. Just like, it's like, I don't know how people do it nowadays, you know? Just lie and be a different person without somebody going, dude, what?
So fucking, I just keep going back to that kid because he looks like Doogie Howser. He looks like a 12-year-old posing as an adult. He's always got that picture of him in a lab coat, and he's got his
glasses on,
and he's got his arm up on his chin, like posing. And I'm just like, look at this idiot.
If we can we? He's now 21, but yeah, just he was a teen. Please. If we get to choose a photo for the... You need to use the photo of him with the hand underneath his chin.
Okay, I'll do it. That'll be our photo.
Oh, man. It's just, yeah, he did it multiple times.
Yeah, he got arrested, he got sued, and then he comes back and just like, oh, he opened up a second practice in the town next over.
He's a piece of shit. It's just like, how broken is the system if you don't stop that from happening again?
No kidding.
After he's been caught. It's not even like they figured it out and he was already gone. You know, it's like he was caught.
Yeah. There were charges brought against him.
Oh my god.
It's just ridiculous. I read that article, and then like a few months later I hear, oh, he got arrested again. Remember that kid that got... Who keeps letting this kid out?
You look at him, and you're like, how did they not know?
Yeah.
He was a kid.
You walk into this rinky-dink little building, and it's just him there, and I'm like, are you a doctor? Yeah. Okay. My knee's fucking killing me, man.
Oh, I think he was like a gynecologist or something. Like, it's creepy.
Of course he was.
It's like, I recall, like, he had a lot of women patients, and it's like, oh, this is a creep. But it's like, it's not funny what he did. It's the fact that he got away with it twice.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he didn't get away if he got caught, but it's just one of those things where it's like, how fucking stupid is everyone involved in this?
This whole story feels like some kind of 4chan green text.
It does.
Of like, he says, and it ends with, see you later, virgins.
It feels like a Nathan for you thing.
Oh god, that's so good.
Oh man.
So anyway, the deaths of Chris and fuck, sorry. All right, we're going back.
It's hard to come back after laughing to be like, and now for real salt reports.
2 hikers went disappearing.
Oh, true, you can't go that dark right now. Oh no, this one's really sad. Okay, hold on.
This one's messed up, yeah.
Yeah, so let's just there's all those people in Cuba that got sick. There's my segue. There's no segue, we're just plowing through. The Havana syndrome, where they all heard like a high buzzing noise.
Yeah.
And then all got physically ill.
I remember like back in the 90s, I can't remember, it might have been Unsolved Mystery. There was some kind of TV show that covered that.
I mean, maybe it's just me, but like, I can get physically ill from certain sounds. Like, that's not, it's just the fact that like so many people were having it, that it's not so much whether or not it was real, it's more of, was it intentional or not?
Yeah, they never could find the source of the sound, and they kept claiming that it was underground.
Yeah, yeah.
They said it was coming from like the ground.
It's an odd one. It's like this is actually one where it's like there's so much theory behind what could have been causing it that I don't know what to say. It's just one of those odd ones that you can go and listen to kind of what it sounds like because they don't actually have a recording of it, I don't think.
No.
It's something that if I heard it, but it's like really we also have to remember it may not actually be a sound they're hearing, like it might not be traveling through the air. It might be something caused through another means that's causing their body to do that. Because, like, if you have tinnitus, you can constantly hear, like, a sharp ringing sound.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible.
So, it is possible that they were causing something like that. Like, it's so odd, though. And it could be a case of mass hysteria, too. Like, nobody's really sure if it was... Cuba trying some tech out or that they got from the Russians or something. But it's very odd.
It's like that dancing plague that happened in England?
I mean, there's a ton of cases of mass hysteria. I was looking into it because I wasn't sure if it was something we might talk about. But, like, it's as... late as 2019, there's been like cases of girls that got in Kenya, girls that had an unknown disease. August 2019, people say schoolgirls were screaming, saying that they saw the face of pure evil. A bunch of people that were on a plane together start getting, sick and having the same sort of symptom. And then oddly enough, people, this is included on the Wikipedia article, which I feel like just proves that Wikipedia can't be trusted sometimes. In the list of mass hysteria cases, the 2016 clown sightings, there were people dressing up as clowns.
Yeah, there were just a bunch of idiots dressed up as clowns. And they were copycats.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not mass hysteria if you're like, yeah, there's a bunch of clowns around. And there's a bunch of people dressed as clowns around. But,
well, here's the thing about that. That had a bigger impact than what you might think, because during that time, McDonald's phased out Ronald McDonald.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's because some people were going too far. Like, if I'm correct, there was a story from the UK of someone looking into people's windows dressed as a clown.
Yeah, and there were people dressed up with weapons.
And I'm gonna straight up tell you, yeah, the clown makeup or any makeup makes it creepier. But if anybody's looking, one of the creepiest, if any case somebody is making a movie out there. Some of the best ways to cause fear is this feeling of being watched.
Yeah.
And people looking in through windows is the creepiest stuff. Like any story where somebody goes, I pulled up my blinds and there's somebody on the other side and then they run away. Nightmare inducing.
Yeah.
Like all my blinds are always down. No.
Especially at night, because you got the lights on. And the reflection, you can't actually see what's outside.
Yeah.
But they can totally see what's inside.
Yeah, fuck that noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to kind of keep going with the idea of sound, are you familiar with the 52 Hertz whale or the loneliest whale?
Yes. But you're going to have to refresh my memory because I do remember some of it.
So, whales... So the way, like everybody's heard whales calls, right? But whales have a certain range that they are between, And so this whale is outside of the range of most normal whales. Blue whales are between 10 and 39 hertz, and fin whales at 20 hertz. And this follows, I believe, the migration patterns of one of those, but it only sends out this call, and because of that, none of the other whales can respond, but they don't know what type of whale it is. Now here's where I go. They wonder if it could be a hybrid whale somehow.
Sure.
Or if it's malformed. Or somebody, I'm reading here actually, people think it might be deaf, which is interesting. But here's my creepy thought for you. What if it's not a whale? They haven't proved it's a whale. They just think it's a whale. The fucking ocean's scary, man.
Yeah.
And, like, I know this isn't super far off, like, the coast or anything, grand scheme of things, but I always picture, like, what if it's calling for something and it is not a whale? And I realize that's a long shot, but that's why I fucking hate deep water with a passion because of how creepy it is.
Yeah.
I'm out of my element, and then God knows what's down there. And I say that with any type of water. The reality is that any landlocked lakes, too, that have had their water for years, like, you don't know what's down there still. Sure, it's not going to be anything super big, but, like, we have not explored every lake on the planet.
Nope.
We don't, and even if you did, like, you can't tell what's inside of it. Fuck the ocean. But the 52 hertz whale creeps me the fuck out. Because, like, if it is a whale, it's very sad. If it's not a whale, that fucking bothers me. And because they can't prove it's a whale, because they haven't seen it, like, you just have this call. And, like, as a fellow person that's played Call of Cthulhu, that's all I can think about. Not that Cthulhu's real, but, like, there's some creepy shit in the ocean that I don't want to see. So, like, what if this is it calling for something, you know, trying to lure and prey or God knows what?
Yeah.
That's more my theories and stuff, but yeah. So,
well, speaking of underwater creepy stuff, up until about 2 years ago, I never knew this. You want to see something creepy? Go look at the actual size of an anglerfish.
Oh, they're huge.
Yeah. I thought they were like maybe the size of my head.
Ew.
No. This sucker can swallow me whole.
Yeah.
I never realized that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, an anglerfish is giant.
The male anglerfish, which eventually just becomes a parasite on the female anglerfish, because the creature can't be disturbing enough as is.
Sure.
Those are normal fish size. And then the female's this gigantic thing. And the bottom of the ocean's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
The things are blind. They don't follow any sort of basic logic in how they're built. And then people are like, well, what if space aliens look like us? I'm like, the things on the bottom of the ocean don't look like us.
Yeah.
That's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get some weird fucking shit like that.
There's so many things that exist on this planet alone that we've never seen. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, so I kind of I alluded to it, and I want to talk about this one. I'm going to skip one, and we can save it for the next time we do something like this, because it's a story that I can talk about for like 5 seconds and I'll be done. This one's kind of crazy. Chris Kremers and Lisa Ann Froon.
I think those are right. They're Dutch names.
Yes.
Because they're Dutch.
Yeah, these were Dutch students who disappeared April 1st of 2014 while hiking in Panama. After an extensive search, portions of their bodies were found a few months later. The cause of death cannot be determined definitely, but Dutch authorities working with forensics or search rescue investigators thought it was likely the students had accidentally fallen off of a cliff or after becoming lost. And then the animals got a hold of them.
Did they find remnants of both, or did they find... I thought they found like a bit of clothing of one and then remnants of the other.
So they found parts of the body. Yeah, they found parts of the body of one of them. They found the belongings of another.
Right.
The creepiest thing about this, and it's something that you can actually see, is...
Okay, hold on. I have to just... I'm already, like, my eyes are, like, watering, because this case bothers the shit.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So, the first thing that happened was the Panama police dropped the ball majorly on this. They didn't actually start searching for like 2 or 3 days. And by that time, they were pretty much screwed at that point. And then they also called off the search like real early. And then it turned into like the family finally had to go out there and try and search for them. The things that were found, obviously, were some of the belongings, backpack. There were some clothing that was found as well. And in the backpack was a digital camera. Now, this is the creepy part. The digital camera had multiple pictures on it. The majority of those pictures looked like they were taken at night using the flash, which they speculate they were using to light up their pathway. But there is also 2 pictures that show one of the girl's head and it's bleeding, which makes people think that possibly there was some foul play involved.
And then, so the thing to note is that what makes it even odder is that, sorry, again, this case bothers me on a level that it's like one of those full-on, like, eyes are watering, hairs on end. It's the old digital camera method. I mean, your phone doesn't do it in the same way. So when it saves the photo, it does it in a sequence. Aren't there 2 photos missing from the sequence?
Yes, there are 2 photos missing. There are 2 photos back to back that are missing.
Yeah. So that means that somebody deleted them on the camera.
Yes.
But why would they delete the photos if, like, there's this weird something isn't fully right? Like, even if they got lost, which, let's say that's true, there's this weird sense of, like, not knowing that, like, why certain things happen. Again, I alluded to it earlier. Every small action before someone disappears seems suspicious. However, in the act of disappearing, like, 2 photos are gone, that's a little odd.
Yeah. And the thing...
Because that wouldn't be my priority. I'm assuming it wouldn't be your priority if you're using the flash as your light.
Yeah. So the other issue is that they found both phones. So they found the phones of both girls. And there are records of them trying to dial out. And the first attempts happen only 5 hours after they went on their little hike. Which makes me think early on that day they had an issue. So either somebody got hurt or somebody got attacked. Eventually their phones died. And it seemed as if they were turning them on and off to see if they could possibly check for a signal.
And they called the 911 equivalent from the Netherlands, which doesn't work.
Yeah. But then they started attempting 911 as well.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. Froom's camera contained photos from April 1st suggesting that the women had taken a trail at the overlook of the Continental Divide and wandered into some wilderness hours before their first attempt to reach 911, but no sign of anything unusual. On April 8th, 90 flash photos were taken between 1 and 4 o'clock a.m., apparently deep in the jungle and in near complete darkness. A few photos show that they were possibly near a river or a ravine. Some show a twig with a plastic bag and candy wrappers on top of a rock. Another shows what looks like toilet paper and a mirror on another rock. And another shows the back of Kramer's head with blood on it.
And I want to note the candy wrappers, the mirror, like the reason why I'm assuming they took photos of that was to use the flash, right?
Yeah.
And shine it against, but that's just my assumption.
Yeah. Discovery of the backpack led to new searches. Kramer's denim shorts, zipped and neatly folded, were found atop a rock.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. On the opposite bank of the tributary, a few kilometers away from where Froom's backpack had been discovered, although later witnesses would claim the jeans were not neatly folded but found in the river itself. 2 months later, closer to where the backpack was discovered, a pelvis and a boot with a foot inside were found. Soon at least 33 wildly scattered bones were discovered along the same riverbank. DNA testing confirmed they belonged to Froom and Kramer, so both remains have been found. Froom's bones still had some skin attached to them, but Kramer's bones would have been bleached. A Panamanian forensic anthropologist later claimed that under magnification there were no discernible scratches of any kind on the bones, neither of nature or cultural origin. There are no marks on the bones at all. Needless to say, that was creepy.
Another creepy one. This one's pretty quick. Andrew Paul Gosden was 14 when he disappeared, and he lied and said he was going to school. This has all happened in the UK, in England. And he was only a year younger than me, so he'd be 28 today. Well, technically he'd be 27 still, but he'd be turning 28 this year. And he left his house, was pretending to go to school, waited till his family left, went inside the house, got his PSP, and I'll bring up why I say that specifically, withdrew £200 from his bank account, and bought a one-way ticket to London from Doncaster Station. He was last seen on CCTV leaving King's Cross Station, and wasn't seen since. Now, a lot of people are like, well, he didn't bring a charger for his PSP. And everybody thinks he was probably playing games on it. But the PSP had a music player built in, which wouldn't use as much battery power. So I assume he brought that up. Brought that for listening to music. I want to say he was a fan of Tool. I can't recall. Slipknot, sorry. He was wearing a black Slipknot t-shirt. Took his wallet, keys, and PlayStation Portable. But he didn't take anything else with him. But he didn't take a coat either. And, he just disappeared, and, like, there's been rumors, and people thought he saw him, and people have said, like, oh, it's me, and it's this very weird case, but it's just one of those, like, you were talking about the girls disappearing, and this just happened inside the city. But I find it somewhat similar in the fact that, like, they took a piece of tech with them, and there's so much emphasis put on the technology. He didn't take his charger, so he clearly wasn't planning on leaving for a long time. But it's like, sure, But if he only was using it for music, like, and he expected to come back, he wasn't going to bring his charger. So I don't fully understand why that's always brought up. At least with the photos, there's a reason why, right?
Yeah.
I got you told me you didn't know the Taman. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Taman Shud case, or the Somerton man.
No, I do not know that one.
So in Somerton, South Australia, in 1948, there was There's a couple of people walking on the beach, and there's a man sort of sitting up against the wall. So you have the beach, then you have a wall, and then you have sort of the rest of the city, right? It just because I specifically say that because there's sort of an escarpment upwards. So when I say that there's a wall, there's a physical wall built, and he was leaning up against it, and he had his feet straight out in front. He had his legs straight out in front. His feet were crossed, and he kind of just had his arms by his side. Now, some people assumed he was just drunk, and they say they thought they saw him move, but I don't know if that's true or not, right? They probably just assumed he was fine. So they go and check, and yeah, this guy was dead, and they don't know who he is. And so they search his pockets, and so an unlit cigarette was on the right collar of his coat, which implies that he was probably alive at some point. The search of his pockets revealed an unused second-class rail ticket from Adelaide to Henley Beach, a bus ticket from the city that may not have been used, a U.S.-manufactured narrow aluminum comb, a half-empty packet of juicy fruit chewing gum, an Army Club cigarette packet, which contained 7 cigarettes of a different brand, Kensitas cigarettes, that was a brand, sorry, I read that, and a quarter-full box of Bryant and May matches. So there was a person sitting on the beach in the same spot. I'm assuming it's the same person. It'd be really weird if it wasn't.
Sure.
But I doubt that. I bet he was there for a couple days, is what I'm saying. And so they did the normal autopsy, and he was clean shaven, but he had no identification. They couldn't match his dental records, but they also couldn't figure out what he died from. They found the food. They didn't think it was poisoned. They don't know how he would have been poisoned, and they inevitably buried him. Now, if I'm correct, where is the... sorry, I'm trying to find where the particular weirdness comes in. So they find like a suitcase in the Adelaide railway station, and it's some odd stuff, but like again, nothing really major. Here's why it's called the Tom and Should case. A tiny piece of rolled up paper with the words Tom Should, again, probably pronouncing that wrong, printed on it was found in a fob pocket sewn within the dead man's trousers pocket. So, like, they made another pocket to, like, hide his note.
And sewed it up.
Yes. Public library officials called in to translate the text identified it as a phrase meaning ended or finished, found on the last page of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. The paper's all the other side was blank. And they went on a search to find a copy of the book that had basically the same sort of setup. Like, they were trying to find where this piece of paper came from. Following a public appeal by the police, a copy of the Rubaiyat from which the page had been torn was located. A man showed police a 1941 edition of Edward Fitzgerald's translation of the Rubaiyat, published by Whitcomb and Toombs in Christchurch, New Zealand. Basically, they could. By the way, the person's never been officially identified. They use pseudonyms. But if I'm correct, it was a very rare version of the book. And give me 1 second. I apologize. There's so much kind of weird stuff, but yeah, here it is. A person found a copy of the book in an unlocked car in another city on the back seat. And so this is the copy of the book, this rare sort of print of this book, where it had the cutout, and then again sewn into his pants. Very odd. The back of the book, right, where it would be a blank page against like the cover of it,
sure,
had random letters written. Just for example, WRGOA BABD, second line, MLIAOI, and then that's crossed out. Like, it's this very weird scribbling. And no one's really sure. There's a telephone number located in the back of the book. They've never identified this person. So they call this woman from the phone number. She doesn't know him, but in late 1948, an unidentified man had attempted to visit her and asked her next door neighbor about her. Like, this is such a fucking weird case, and like, the reason why I'm like so like kind of scatterbrained is there's so many parts I remember. Like, somebody else has a rare copy of the book. It ends up not being that copy of the book. So like, you have two of this sort of odd print, right? Because you have this translation that was printed in New Zealand, in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very specific print of the book. There's two of them. One of them you can find the ownership for. It's not that copy. And the other copy is found in an unlocked car.
With a whole bunch of other scribblings in there.
Yes, and like, they don't know who this person is. They make a bust of his head. Like, it's just a very odd case. It is a rabbit hole to go down. I go down it frequently to see if anything has changed. Usually it hasn't. It's 1948, you know. But it's such a... So they think he's European, but then he has American branded stuff. Like, where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from? Cotton Eye Joe.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So, I'm wondering, have they ever attempted to do DNA with this guy?
Let me find out. I just closed the page. I'm assuming, but the thing with DNA, which solved one of the cases I would have brought up, which was the Golden State Killer.
Yeah.
Is wow, that is, you just read about the nightmare scenario that is, talking about being watched. I'm sure they have, but that requires, so, yeah, so they found out that he and his mother belonged to haplogroup H4A1A1A, which is apparently possessed by only 1% of Europeans. But like, it's still up in the air because, again, only so many people can do DNA analysis, and then you have to have certain people willing to give over their DNA by choice. So it solves some crimes, but then there's, the legality slash ethical nature of things.
Right.
It seems to be a case in progress still, so maybe one day we will know his identity. It's what solved the Lori Erica Ruff case, which I suggest any listener go down that rabbit hole. Joseph Newton Chandler III, which is still a mystery to some extent because we don't know why he left his family, took the identity of a dead child, why he always listened to white noise, why he didn't talk to others, why he eventually killed himself, although I think they kind of knew. I think he had cancer, but still, why he would drive like 3 hours to go shopping, realize that he doesn't want anything, turn around and drive 3 hours back. Like, there's always weird stuff, even when you fully know the answers.
Yeah.
And like Joseph Newton Chandler III is one of the weirdest things. There's the gentleman who didn't remember who he was for years, and they've done the DNA, and they still don't know why his memory was lost. He was the only missing person where they actually had the person, they just didn't know who he was.
Right.
So he has found his family, and honestly, he said like he remembers certain things, but he doesn't remember other parts of it now. And it's like he doesn't remember his family, but he remembers the house. Like it seemed familiar to him. This is how I spend my time, everybody.
This is like,
if you wonder why I'm crazy, all I do is just go down rabbit holes.
Yeah, the one of the great ones that I had never heard of before was the one that Nexpo just recently did with the guy who randomly, he left home and didn't tell anybody about it, and then a few years later, he gets hit by a car in a city clear across the country.
Clearly I am not talking about the same one. I'm thinking Barely Sociable.
No, this was Nexpo. This was the one he did right before Yuba County 5.
Oh, The Vanishing of David Lewis.
Yeah.
I think I watched that, but I clearly need to rewatch it.
Yeah, the dude like straight up just disappeared. Like his family went to go somewhere, went to go shopping or something. He was going to watch the Super Bowl.
Yes. Or he was going to watch a football game or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, like...
He was recording it.
Out,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, he was recording it. He left food out. He's nowhere to be seen. The car's gone. They don't find him for years. And it just so happens he is the victim of a car. He gets hit by a car. He is walking down a highway wearing camouflage. And is killed.
Tip, don't do that.
Yeah. He is killed and hit a car, and couldn't find out it's him. And they're like, we have no idea how he got here. We have no idea where he's been, and why he just up and left.
The alternate version of Cotton Eye Joe. Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants a really good thing to watch, which we shouldn't have to tell people, the new Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix is some of the creepiest shit.
There's some really, really good episodes in there.
The gentleman who is found in the dump, whose last hours are...
Him just wandering around city?
Yeah.
The one that happened about an hour away from my house, the poor woman that was killed, and... The stepdad did that shit.
Oh, yeah, let's not talk about that one. That one's we know, we just can't prove.
No, we just can't prove
yeah, oh, God. I keep her ashes in a box, you fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was thinking more of the guy that went through the roof.
Yeah, that's the first episode. That was wild.
Yeah, I mean, like... Even that's another one. Go on about what you're going to go on about.
Okay. So the last one I'm going to bring up. Are you familiar with the Lake City Quiet Pills?
I tried to research them today, and even then I was like, I'm not really, like, this is not an explanation.
Yeah, so this is insane. And to be honest with you, I believe it. So, and this is slightly conspiracy, but there's so much proof to this. So, in 2009, Reddit, which in 2009, Reddit was not as big as is now. There was a guy who was, for all intents and purposes, we know him as Milo, who claimed to be a military veteran, and he would comment on multiple things. He would talk about rallying against a bunch of stuff like politics, and definitely hated socialism and stuff like that. Kind of found out he was actually running a website called LakeCityQuietPills.com. In mid-2009, Milo stopped posting on Reddit, and a new person with the handle 26 logged on and claimed to be Milo's hosting provider. Let's see, I'm just reading it off now. So this led to Curious to dig deeper into 26 and found a user named Angel26, whose email address often appeared in the Lake City Quiet Pills website. Angel26's forum post had no direct ties to this website. However, they could be associated with the Lake City Army ammunition plant, which had the tagline of dispensing Lake City Quiet Pills to lousy bastards in need of permanent rest since 1968. So, as we can kind of figure out, Quiet Pills is bullets. So, investigations led to a poster named Angel, assumed to be Angel26, looking for groups of 8 to 10 people who were fluent in specific languages to travel to different countries and deliver packages. On the surface, this could have ties to illegal activity. Some believed the ad was related to Muhammad al-Mad, I don't know how to pronounce that, a person's assassination. In fact, there were multiple posts talking about this hotel, meeting up at this hotel, bringing packages to this hotel, and it was the same hotel this person was staying at. And there were multiple people responding to these posts saying, yes, we are here.
All right, then.
Since then, Lake City Quiet Pills was took down right after that and never been brought back. There is some crazy speculation into thinking that this website was actually some kind of underground assassination ring led by ex-military people.
Okay. So I did kind of have the gist of it. All right.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know. I know you think it's real. I can't deny that. It's one of those things where it's like, I think I need to see the original posts. And, like, if you look this up, you'll get a lot of people's interpretations before you get to see any screenshots or anything.
Yeah, the problem is this was a little bit before the time of screenshotting every damn thing.
Yeah.
And the Wayback Machine is not really helping things. There's not much there. If trying to find actual hard evidence that Lake City Quiet Pills ever existed is hard to find, but there are people who are like, yeah, I was on Reddit during this time. I totally saw this stuff.
All right. Well, I have one that's still there, surprisingly, even though the user deleted their account, called The Bridge. So in the UK, these guys found like a manhole cover near the bridge. Basically, like, they found it's a cement bridge, but they found out they could get inside. So they they were like, oh, we think we found the opening. So they open up the manhole, and they go inside, and it's a tight fit. It's also pitch black, right? And there's four guys, and they're finding themselves in these uncomfortable like things. Like you gotta kind of squeeze through. It's not built for like easy access. It's built there for people going in to maybe fix something. So they're squeezing through, and one of the guys says that they can kind of see something in the distance at the far end. So they find a single foldable chair positioned facing the wall. On the wall was a partially torn page from a newspaper or a magazine showing a fully naked lady in an erotic position. The eyes of the woman had been cut out, not scratched, but cut. And then they found a condom covered in blood. So they're like, all right, we need to get the fuck out of there. So they leave. They went back and took photos. So there is photos from a return visit. Because clearly people are like, take photo. So they go and they take a photo of the outside of the bridge. They show where the manhole cover is. So when I say this bridge, it actually runs above a road. And it's a concrete bridge for trains.
Gotcha.
So they show like how dark it gets inside. And it's these metal so it's like a kind of a metal plate that's raised on a cement block. And then they go down into it. And the photos, like they take one in the dark, and then they take one with like the flash on. And gonna be honest with you, both are creepy in their own ways. So they have one of the guys kind of do the Slav squat, and there's just like the little bit of light being shown. Then they show you where they squeeze through, and it's sort of this like flat area that they have to crawl in. And then they have to kind of go into, so they crawl in, and then they go into a bigger sort of open area. And inside this area is, I'm assuming, like the shape of the bridge. Like the interior is kind of like not even. They find what looks like a makeshift bed. I'm looking at the photos as we talk. It's dusty. There's a cut padlock, a used candle, some blue rope, a milk container that looks like it might be filled with piss, human feces.
Oh, wonderful.
In bags, because that's just what you do. There is crime scene tape. And then they go in and they show you what they're talking about with the chair. There's a small knife. There's a different picture. But he says that the vagina area of the photo, it's not nude, but the vagina, like between her legs, there is a cigarette burn. You can't see it in the photo. I've looked. But yeah, like the black sticky tape on the, like electrical tape on the photos that would have kept it on the wall at some point. A brush, some scissors, a nail that looks like it had some blood on it, a candle that had been melted into the wall so it could hold up on the wall, a partially what looks like burnt photo that's hanging on the wall still, and the chair that they call the devil's chair. They said that the condom was gone, too, so they think someone came back. And like, yeah, I wouldn't have gone back in that fucking bridge.
No.
But God bless. I mean, there's 4 of them, so I'm sure they weren't as worried. But even then, I'd be like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, no.
We're not good enough friends. Nobody's good enough friends. Yeah, and like that is So before I was on, I frequented Reddit. That was one I had even heard about because I think at the time I probably was on Imager quite a bit,
Right.
and like the photos made it there, and yeah, those are some for a lot of nothing going on in those photos. There's a lot going on in those photos. Like it's very similar to the photos from the missing girls, except that thank God these people are okay. Yeah.
Jesus.
I assume you're done, right? That's all you've got?
I've got one thing I want to bring up, and it's something that happened to me personally.
Okay, we're going to save the Yuba County 5 for another time?
We can if you want.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. Do you believe in the supernatural?
How far are we going in?
Do you believe in ghosts?
Not particularly, no.
Okay. I don't either.
Okay.
So, and I still don't. But I have
experience. I don't know. You seem to be going that way, Drew.
Yeah. I experienced something that I cannot explain. And I was not alone in this. My father was with me. So, I have to give you a backstory. And it is going to be revealing to me. My father, people who know me call me Bobby. The reason why they call me Bobby is because my father ran and owned a pain business. So everybody calls me Bobby.
Yeah.
You know.
We're all real original.
Yep. So King of the Hill. So my father not only owned the business, but he also operated it himself as well. And he regularly delivered gas, propane to residential places, also businesses, as well as churches. Now, I say churches because he has had multiple. He's sold the company. He is retired now, but he had multiple churches that he also supplied propane to. Well, this was a Saturday night, very cold Saturday night, and it was a church local here called Hebron Church. So I'm going to be showing close to where I live. The Hebron Church is one of the oldest churches in the state of Georgia. So old, in fact, that there are actually Revolutionary War soldiers buried here. It is very, very old. And they still hold church services to this day. It is a very small church. It's out in the middle of nowhere, right in the middle of the woods. And a Saturday night, probably around 8 o'clock at night, my dad got a phone call from the Hebron Church people, and they're saying, we are out of gas, and we are having church service in the morning. Could you please bring some to a tank, and we will pay you, the whole thing. And, of course, Dad being the way he was like, of course, I'll go fill it up. Well, he was already at home on Saturday, and he asked me, he's like, and I want to say I was probably 13, maybe 13, 14, somewhere around in there. I wasn't able to drive, but I was definitely a teenager at that point. And he asked me, he said, Drew, you want to come with me? He said, yeah, just ride with your dad. Keep me company. I was like, all right, sure. So we took off in a gas truck to go fill up this tank. And we pull up, and it is dark. It's pitch black. This church is out in the middle of the woods. There is no street lights or anything like that. It is pitch black. So Dad has these lights on his truck. It's like outside, like floodlights on his truck. So we pull up to the church. We pull up to the tank, and Dad is put the hose on to the tank. He's filling up the tank, and it's relatively loud, right? So it's constantly running. It's not overly loud that you can't stand it, but it is loud enough to where it sounds almost like a generator's running or something like that. And we're about halfway through finishing up this filling up this tank, and I'm standing out there with Dad. It's cold as hell, and I noticed Dad looks at me and then looks back at the truck, and he turns off the pump. And he stands there almost like he's listening for something. And then he turns the pump back on. And I was like, what the hell was that? And Dad's like, I thought I heard something. And I was like, okay. And it happens again. Dad walks over, turns off the pump. He then definitely does hear something. I also do too. And at this point, I'm following Dad because I'm like, okay, there's something going on. What the sound is, it sounds like footsteps inside the church. And I'm not talking one person walking around the church. I'm talking the entire fucking congregation stomping around in there. Me and Dad both heard it.
I mean, there was multiple people there, I'm assuming. They're asking you to fill up.
No.
Okay.
So this is the next thing Dad does. Like I said, I'm following Dad. Dad walks around to the front of the church. There's not a car in the parking lot at all. And Dad's like, they're not having service today. It's pitch black out here. There's no lights on in there. Dad unhooks the hose, puts it back on his truck, and we leave without filling up that tank. To which I asked my dad as we were going down the road, because at this point my heart kind of sank. And I asked Dad, I was like, were you scared? He's like, no, I'm not scared. I was like, well, you heard it and I heard it. He's like, yeah. I said, what did it sound like to you? He said, it sounded like they were having church in there. I was like, yeah, but there's nobody there. He said, well, maybe it was somebody trying to break in. And I was like, Dad, that was more than 1 foot up.
Shut up, Bobby.
To this day, Dad still remembers this, and he cannot explain what that was. Now, was there somebody in that church? There absolutely was. Because I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in apparitions. I don't care how old the church is. I don't care how big the cemetery is. But it was freaky as shit.
So you want my freaky story then?
Go for it. Before I
give you a cat. So there was a bar in... so I used to live in London, Ontario. And the reason why it's important to note that is that the downtown area is very popular with the amount of college students and university students that we have in that city. And so there was a lot of bars, and they're all in the main Richmond Row is what it's called. I was off of that. I was going to see a show in a small pub. Weirdly enough, the upper floor is where they would have the show, and the bottom floor was the actual, like, eating pub. Whatever. It closed because of development, of course, as every good thing does. And so I saw a show there, and I'm like, I had a drink, so I didn't drive. I got a ride from my parents. I then go to leave, but I'm like, I'm not going to catch a cab. It's a 30-minute walk from downtown to my house. I'll be fine. You know, I brought my headphones just in case. I mean, it's dark. It's 10 p.m. But I'm like, you leave one in, you leave one out. I should be fine. I'm not on the main row, so I'm not going to run into anybody that's drunk, that wants to pick a fight, you know? And, like, I'm in a better part of downtown. Like, the West End is a little bit nicer than the East End in London. I'm going up this road that the bar is on. And I'm like, if I go straight up, I'll hit one of the main roads, and I will just connect and then walk Richmond upwards, like north bound, and then I'll skip the actual bar section of Richmond. I'll walk the university. It'll be a little bit more safe. I don't have to go through the bad area. It'll all be fine. So I'm walking down this road, and at one point there's a train track. And so instead of going over the train track, the sidewalk and road goes under the train track. And I'm walking towards it, and I can see up ahead, there's a light on one side of the train track, my side, and a light on the other side. And underneath the train track, I can make out a silhouette of a person. And I'm like, okay, I have two options here, and I don't like either of them. Because now I'm not on one of the sort of main roads that I can easily walk to Richmond. So I have to either take a back alleyway to get through this back road to the main Richmond Street, or I can go down and potentially deal with whatever problem this person is going to cause. Because who the fuck is waiting? It's not that they were sleeping; they were standing up. I'm like, okay, I don't like any of my options. So I'm like, I go around, and luckily enough, I kind of know this area. I'm not downtown all the time, but I know this back area because the train track runs right by my friend's old business. So I'm like, if I take the train tracks, which not really safe at night when a train could come through still, but I'm like, if I take the train tracks, I can get to Richmond.
You can also see the train coming usually.
Well, we're on a curve, so I'll hear the train coming, but I picture myself getting stuck and being screwed type of thing.
It's Final Destination shit.
But here's the thing: I have to get close to this person still to get to the train tracks. I can't just cut across. There's buildings in the way. So I quickly get to the train tracks and I fucking bolt. Because now I'm like, this person can hear me moving. This person saw me walking up. There's no way. I bolt to the main street, and I've never been so happy to see a homeless man in my life. I think I gave him all the change in my pocket because he's just like, hey man, I'm like, here you go, man. Because now I'm on the main street. I'm finally, right? And this homeless guy's sitting there and he asks me if I have any change. And I'm just like, fucking God bless. There's another person here because I was on a street with nobody else except this one person underneath this fucking bridge. And it just creeped me out. It's not like this other person was just walking and I got nervous. This person was standing under a train track. It wasn't raining. It was a warm summer's night. It wasn't like it was, they were cuddling up in the cold trying to get away from the snow. It was just they were underneath the train tracks, just chilling, waiting.
For their next victim.
Dude, why else would they be waiting under a train track?
So
in the dark.
So never look back?
Nope.
No.
I started, so when I ran, and I slowed down as I reached Richmond, almost to a stop to hear if they were following. I didn't hear anything, but that doesn't mean that they weren't. I did eventually look back once I hit Richmond and no one came out, so I'm assuming they didn't follow me, but it's still, like, fucking creepy.
Oh, shit, yeah.
And here's the thing. I had walked from further downtown before, and felt safer. It was one of those back roads during the night. Definitely a no. Never doing this again. And I think that was honestly the last time I walked from downtown. That's how fucking creepy it was. I was just like, yeah, I'll just drive and not drink. That's a better time.
So there, one quick thing. I actually have video evidence of this. I think I sent it to you before. There is a guy who is notorious around here for walking around. Goddamn. He's walking around with a briefcase. Now, if it was a guy in a business suit walking around with a briefcase, nobody would bat an eye. This dude, it does not look like he should be carrying around a briefcase. And he will stop and talk to anybody that will be willing to listen. He's a very friendly man. He's also very insane. He believes that he is the son of JFK and Marilyn Monroe.
All right.
He claims to be a government assassin who determines where the poor and the rich people are supposed to live. And the briefcase is the football codes for the nuclear weapons. I have video evidence of this man, not from me, but from a friend of mine that I used to work with. He ran into him, and he filmed this guy. Now, the guy didn't know he was filming him. In fact, most of the video is pitch black because he's got the phone against his leg.
Right.
But you can hear the conversation. And you could tell my friend was like, I need to get the hell out of here right fucking now. Yeah. That's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing that guy up over the bridge.
No, below the bridge. And not like under the bridge and like in Red Hot Chili Peppers way, like under the bridge and then he stabs a guy. All right, I got one more before I have to go to work. And this is a weird one because I'm kind of asking for help. It's a music story.
Huh.
Dun, dun, dun. So in the year 2000, but so The Matrix came out in 1999. In the year 2000, a 19-year-old made it from Australia, made a parody called Computer Boy. And I think everybody should watch it. It's a good time.
Sure.
It's cheap.
Okay.
It's dumb. It's what if Keanu Reeves was playing like classic Keanu Reeves in The Matrix?
Whoa.
The guy that plays Morpheus is white because who gives a shit? It's a parody and it's dumb.
Yep.
And the guy playing Keanu Reeves does it perfectly. He goes, "Whoa, just like Michael Jackson." and the office scene where the guys agents come in is just perfect. Morpheus, and then he stands up in this office building and goes, "Shit, no way, shit," and he sits back down. It's so dumb. I love it. If you watch the credits, all the music is written by this one guy. However, that is not true. The opening song, I could not find for years. And I loved it. It's kind of got this like Moby vibe going on, Moby Play era, so it's like electronic, but it's not...
Kind of funky a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of funky, yeah. Then somebody on Tumblr one day just... I'm not on the Tumblr, but I've searched for this thing for... at this point, so I started watching that my final year of high school, so 2008, 2009, right? So it's been 7-8 years, and no one at the time had a list. Eventually, I looked it up, and somebody had edited the Wikipedia page that the song in the opening was a song by Anders and Matthew Nielsen called Blue Moon.
And that's a lie?
No. Maybe. I don't know. Here's where it gets confusing. The only source of this is a Tumblr post. The person uploaded the whole song, so I have it. Thank you, that person. They say that they've brought it over from hard drive to hard drive for a while. It is clearly not a fake. It is not an edit. This is the original song because the quality of Computer Boy is low. It was a streaming movie in 2000, so you can only question the quality of it that it is now. It's been through a couple times. It's deep fried in terms of like being video. This song, they say they got it from an Australian. This because this movie is in Australia, it makes sense. An Australian magazine that would include, it was some like tech magazine that would include like a disc of music, but it was a disc of random music, and apparently it was like a data disc, not like a CD, like an actual CD. So it was like MP3s almost that they just downloaded from the internet and thought were good. I don't really know how that's okay or whatever. They say this song is called Blue Moon by Anders and Matthew Nielsen. It heavily samples something else. I can't find that sample. I don't know what magazine it's from. I asked my friend in Australia. He told me that if the magazine wouldn't have referenced what was on the disc, it would just be what's on the disc. I said, do you potentially have this disc? Like, did you keep these magazines in the disc? And like, he said he'd ask father. I don't think that the father had it. So I don't know the magazine anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But he had a sneaking suspicion of what magazine it would be. Is this a song by Anders Nielsen and Matthew Nielsen, or is it a song by someone with the mononym Anders and a man named Matthew Nielsen? By the way, I cannot find anyone working under those names. There's names that are similar, but then they're also not in Australia. So what's the likelihood of somebody in Europe doing a random song that's clearly sampling some sort of English song? And like the English, I mean like American probably.
Are you looking at this right now? Because I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. It says New Moon contains the ID3 artist tag of Sinister Sam.
I swear to God, if this is changed.
ID3 is a metadata container.
Yep. ID3 is so MP3s have different tags. I think we are at ID4 now, which can do a little bit more.
Okay.
But that's odd because is it Sinister Sam one word?
2 words.
Huh. So it was credited to Anders and Matthew Nielsen before. And it's just, so here's this song that I have that I don't know anything about. And it's such a weird, it's just a weird, let me see here. Yeah, see, like, but it's saying still, like, if you look at the music list, it says, Anders and Matthew Nielsen, and it's second half of closing credits, but it's also the intro music too. And it's like, I don't fully understand. Yeah, see, upcoming coming bands, Sinister Sam and the Stud and Track House Band. Dude, this fucking movie keeps having weird information more and more like leak out, and it's been on the internet for that long, and I can't find any information that's like concrete about it. And I have the song. There's another song out there that is like this fake 80s song, I'm pretty sure, that some uploaded that they say they recorded off the radio and the intro got cut off, and no one can identify it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I've seen that video.
And it's like, I question that to some extent.
No, somebody made that.
But it's like, it's that still. Like, it's a weird, like, I don't fucking understand. Yeah. I don't understand how I can have this song and it, like, be so unclear still. So I'll send that song to you, and you can give it a listen, maybe put it at the end. It's a great song, but fuck me, man. It's one of those things where it's like every time I dig, I cannot find it.
Okay.
Find any more info. So.
I'll definitely put it in the outro here. And I just realized that the YouTube video for this podcast is going to be of that fucking kid in the fucking lab coat.
Perfect.
I gotta find a picture here. Let me see if I find a picture.
Dude, if you just type it in, it's just kid pretends to be doctor, it'll be the first hit.
Kid, there it is. Man, 18, arrested for pretending to be a doctor. Save picture. Thank you very much. Oh, Jesus. This is perfect. Okay. Well, is that you think
that's
you're done?
it for me? I have to head to work.
Yeah. I got to hit the bed because I got to get up at 4 a.m.
Fun times.
But yeah, I absolutely love this show. So
Yep.
There you go.
We'll probably do another of just murders.
Yeah, I figure we do one of true crime because that's it's insane. But at least I'm going to leave you guys with a few websites or YouTube channels to at least check out. Obviously, we mentioned Nexpo. That's kind of the to me that's the cream of the crop when it comes to internet mysteries. He does a great job there. He cites his sources, which is very important. Barely Sociable is another really good one. He can get a little hokey at times. Nick Crowley is okay.
Oh God. Blame It on Jorge.
Yeah, Blame It on Jorge is another really good one.
Yeah.
If you're into true crime, like the actual real, this guy murdered this person kind of thing, that chapter is really, really good. And he uploads a ton. Another channel I want to plug, he doesn't post as much as he should. I think because he takes his time with a lot of stuff. He specializes in interrogation videos and analysis. JCS Criminal Psychology. It stands for Jim Can't Swim. And that guy is fascinating. He does mainly interrogation videos, and he'll pause it and say, look at his demeanor here. This shows that he's lying. And he explains why. Like, this dude is obviously some type of, like, professor in this kind of stuff. But okay.
So if we want to wrap this up, I have to go.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry. It popped up and I was like, okay. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate everybody listening. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I am at Drew Leachman. The podcast itself is at ZTGD Phoenix Down. But yeah, we're going to get out of here. Anthony's got to go to work. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, I am Drew.
I'm Anthony.
And we're out of here. We'll be back next week with the continuation of Lost Odyssey.